Welcome to the 3-Hour News Show. You are now watching our signature segment, See the Stories. Now, research has shown that pornography correlates with physical changes in the brain. Now, Kai, I have to ask you that. Have you heard about this?
I have, but I haven't had the chance to read into details. But what I know for sure is that it's definitely not good for the brain.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to find out why.
Exactly, I think me too.
Yeah, because it's such a taboo subject, but I think it's very important education-wise for us to talk about it. And speaking of this, speaking of pornography, Grammy Award-winning singer Billie Eilish recently spoke up about how pornography has destroyed her brain, and let's have a look at the story.
Billie Eilish spoke up in a podcast about how she has been addicted to pornography since she was 11 years old. She has also said that this habit has damaged her brain by shaping the way she saw relationships and herself in general. Eilish has won 7 Grammy Awards and is often known by her dark lyrics. And we can see from her song from the second album, Male Fantasy, how she recalls a broken relationship while she distracts herself with pornography.
Now, Billie Eilish has admitted that her habits has led her to suffering nightmares because some of the contents she watched were so violent and abusive. She also said in the podcast that porn has created unrealistic expectations of the human body. Eilish said that she now feels devastated that she was exposed to so much porn and feels so angry at herself for thinking that it was okay to watch explicit contents. Now, as a woman and as a mom, of course, this will involve how we keep our children safe in regards to the explicit content. We now want to welcome psychologist Efnie Indiranie here into the studio to have a little bit of a conversation about this. So Efnie, hi.
Hi.
Please welcome Efnie, hi.
Hello.
You look so great in red.
All right.
I love that you are
Hi.
contrasting us in pink. Please have a seat, have a seat. Enjoy the tea.
Wow.
We've prepared some special tea because we find like when ladies want to talk serious business, it's best over tea time, right?
Yes.
Yes, just in time before dinner. But also mentioning what we've kind of talked about before is that Billie Eilish has admitted that her condition related to brain damage that according to her was caused by pornographic exposure, right? Exposure to porn.
Yeah.
Now, the question that we've been asking is, how does porn directly affect the brain? Because it was said that it affects through physical changes and everything.
Yes. Sometimes when we talk about brain, we think it's a part of very important in our body. And specific behavior, such as the pornography addiction, can change the how our brain works. Yeah, because the activity to see or to watch everything about pornography will influence our brain totally. When we see something related to the porn things, our brain will produce dopamine hormone overly than before. That's why it's changed the brain work, to change the brain patterns, and can damage our brain from the size, chemical, and the pattern.
So it's because of the dopamine rush that comes with watching the porn itself.
Yes, that's true.
So it's like it's basically like an addiction, right?
Yes, the addiction is from the pornography is similar with the drugs addiction also, but the effect of the brain is more than only drugs addiction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So now we know how the person's brain pattern could change because of the addiction, right?
Yeah.
But is there a correlation between pornography exposure and also mental health issues such as anxiety or depression?
Yes, of course, because when the chemical of the brain unstable, we produce more than before for the dopamine hormone. It will influence the part of our brain. For the first, when we get the information, especially natural information, it will influence the part of our brain. We call it prefrontal cortex. It's the part of analytical thinkings about thinking, wisdom, analytical, and another thing.
So what you're trying to say is because of the dopamine, if I'm not mistaken, the prefrontal cortex is the rational brain, right? So we cannot think as rational when we have too much dopamine in the brain.
Yes, too much dopamine. it will influence the prefrontal cortex works in our brain. And it will influence another part of our brain. The releasing dopamine overly than before, it will hijack the brain reward circuit system. So the part of the limbic system is the part of emotion will influence by these conditions. That's why the unstable of the chemical and change totally the how the brain works will influence our mental conditions such as anxiety, depression, nightmare, social anxiety, and many things.
Wow. So, wow.
Yeah, so from the description, I mean, if that happens to an adult, it
Yeah.
could be something big. But this is happening to like Billie Eilish since she was 11, so it's even bigger issue, right?
Yes, yes. When we exposure to the something related to the pornography early in life, the effect of the brains will be more than when we exposure something related to pornography when we adult.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what can we do as parents? You know, we're both parents of young girls, and what can we do so something like this doesn't happen to our
Yes.
babies?
Yes, of course. Sometimes, as a parents, we try to protect our kids from everything about technology, right? We use a specific software maybe to protect the kids from watch some things related to the digital technology. But we must give the sexual education.
Yeah.
Yep, sexual education is not just to introduce the part of fetal body, such as, oh, this is your genders or something related to about the biological state, but we must give the information, especially to the kids. They can understand if you do something, what is the effect of your body. Yeah, that's really important if we try to give the damage effect from the something related to the pornography, especially for the teenagers in the puberty period. They must know about it. What is another effect to your brain? They must know it.
Speaking of brains, right behind you, Kai.
Yes, we have a scan here of the normal brain and brain addicted to heroin and the brain that is addicted to porn.
All right, so can you explain it to us?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shape is very different.
yes, totally different between the left side and the right side. And we can see the damage because of the porn addiction is very worse.
Yeah. It somehow it grew bigger also? Does that, or no?
Smaller
Just
in certain parts and bigger.
We can see so many damage on the middle part of the brain. We call it the limbic system. It's the part of the emotional state in our body.
Okay.
That's why if the broke in the middle area of the brain, it will influence how we control our emotional system. Most of the people who addiction to the pornography, they cannot control their drive. They cannot control their emotion.
Because it's physically changed.
Yes, that's
Because the brain has physically changed to become smaller or damaged in that part,
Yep.
so that they literally lose the ability to
to
control.
control the emotion.
Control their emotion.
Wow.
If they want something, it must be fulfilled at this time. They cannot wait because the activity changed totally. When we grow older, our prefrontal cortex will become mature than before. So we can control our drive to do or to want something.
Yeah.
But if in this condition, the prefrontal cortex activity will reduce than before.
So is this physical damage? Because this is a physical like change of shape. Yeah, it's not just, it's physical damage. It's not just, you know, the brain, just different patterns.
Yeah.
Is this permanent?
Yes, it's permanent. Why? Because when we exposure to the something, let's say film or something related to the pornography, pictures maybe, every stimuli can influence the nerve system. So the nerve system in the brain has changed totally. That's why our brain has changed totally than before.
Oh, wow.
If our brain changes totally, our behavior will change also.
Right. So let's see, someone is addicted to porn, and then I guess you can cure it, right? You can cure their addiction. Will their brain return like it was previously, or no?
I'm not really sure it can come back to the original
Original shape
form or the original shape, but it will reduce the addiction activity maybe.
So the question is, until for the brain to change shape like that, to be physically damaged like that, how severe does the addiction have to be, and at what age? Because it feels like when we're only exposed to it in adulthood, our brain should have been sort of fully matured, right?
Yeah.
So it would have been a little bit harder for it to change shape. But is it true that even as an adult we can damage our brains, or is it just because it's a long-term exposure since very young?
Yeah, based on the brain plasticity theory, even though we exposure when we adult, the brain will change totally.
Wow.
Yes, that's the bad news for us. Even though we are an adult now, we have to control our behaviors. We should to be more careful with what we see and what we watch every time and everywhere.
Okay, now speaking of addiction, can you cure someone with porn addiction?
Yes, as a clinical psychologist, I have several experience to give a treatment to someone who addiction to the pornography.
Okay.
Okay. For the first, I ask from the medical doctors to give the medical prescription to reduce or to restrain the sexual drive for the first. It's not a medical prescription from the medical doctors. And after that, I give the psychotherapy to the persons. We can change from another activity to produce the dopamine, because the brain always craving to have a lot of dopamine.
Yeah.
For the first, they get it from the pornography.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have to change it. We can change with another activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there has been a lot of posts on my Instagram feed recently, the differences between short-term or bad kind of dopamine and the good kind of dopamines. So could you please explain to us, what are the healthier dopamine rushes that we should have more activities in our daily lives?
Yeah, dopamine is one of a neurochemical in our brain that can help us to feel joy, cheerful, and have a motivation to do everything.
Yeah.
But when our brain exposure to overly dopamine or produce overly dopamine in our brain, we cannot control our behavior. Maybe we cannot sleep at night because we feel so more energized at night.
Okay.
Okay, and we cannot control our behavior also. Maybe we do something in front of the others, and another people think that's what you do in front of the others. We cannot control it. It will happen automatically. That's the effect of the dopamine to our behavior.
My question
Kind
is,
of scary.
yeah, I understand, but my question is, how is it just one time watching porn? Is it automatically, is it automatically making you addicted, or what is the definition of addiction anyway? Is it like you consume like twice, 3 times a day, or like once a month, and, because. Okay, I understand that, I know this is porn we're talking about, but like, you know what I mean? It's just like, you cannot be addicted to something just by one-time exposure. So what happens until you are officially, diagnosed as addicted to something?
Okay, the symptoms, someone who addicted to the pornography. For the first, they always watch something related to pornography more than 10 times in a day.
10 times a
10
day.
times in a day.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's addiction.
You need more activities, dude. Okay.
Every time and everywhere, they will keep the memory, maybe from the cell phones or electronic devices and other things, just to maintain the information about pornography.
Because they need it, right? They need
Yes,
to
of
see
course.
it.
They're craving for that
Yeah.
every time and everywhere. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, it's just so weird, because when I understand that when you consume drugs, right, it gives you a certain rush. It's not just, it makes you physically feel something. And why is it so much more with porn? Is it because that when you are consuming porn, your body actually reacts with it too, right? Obviously. There is a certain human desire that's awoken when you are, a biological desire that's awoken with porn. And does that also contribute to that extra rush of dopamine that makes it even worse than drug addiction.
In a drug addiction, it's more easier to overcome it. Why?
Wow.
Yes, because at the first, we can help someone by detoxifying process
Yeah.
the effect of the chemical in our body. But it's so different with the pornography. There is no specific another chemical. The chemical is come from our body.
That's right.
We produce our dopamine.
Yeah.
That's why it's not easy for us. And it's not easy to control it. That's why we need specific medical prescription to restrict the sexual desire from someone.
And how long does that usually take for someone to recover or to be not to be addicted anymore?
In my experience, it takes more than 1 year.
Right?
But once a week, they must specific treatment, even the medical treatment and the psychotherapy treatment also.
So medical treatment to restrain, and then the psychotherapy would be to change the behavior. Right?
Yes, we call it behavior modifications.
How does this addiction affect people in relationships and the relationships that they build around each other? Because Billie Eilish has also said that it has developed unrealistic expectations of herself and things like that. How does a person with porn addiction build relationships, or what are they like in relationships?
Sometimes for the several people who addict to pornography, they will face the social anxiety. They will not be able to deal with in a social life, deal with the other peoples. Sometimes like that. And in another part, when they live in a marital life, they will not interest anymore with the partner, with the spouse, because they just have the interest with the video or picture related to the pornography.
So they become almost entirely antisocial.
Yeah, I mean, if they watch it 10
Wow.
times a day, right?
10 times a day.
Yeah, and you did mention about one of the things that they can do is put their mind somewhere else and do something else, like activities. What kind of activities would you recommend them to do?
Yeah, for the first, we help them to change the nutrition in daily life. Yeah, change the nutrition. We need specific nutrition that can stimulate the dopamine in our brain. For the first, change the nutrition.
Okay.
Change the daily activity. And they must have the sun's exposure in the morning.
Vitamin D.
Yeah. And then after that, they need one-off mentor to control the activity in daily life. Because in the behavior modification, where there is no mentors, that mentoring every time and everywhere, it's easy for someone to open
Relapse.
it again. Yes, relapse.
Especially because access has become much easier these days
Yeah,
than before.
that's
You can
true.
have it on your phone.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why they enter the rehabilitation process with the specific treatment.
All right. Well, we still have more questions for you. I know we still have more questions for you. So we'll continue our talk with Efnie after the break. Don't go anywhere. In the meantime, please enjoy our tea.
Okay, thank you.
We're gonna have tea.